Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. Morning, Mark.
Morning, Joe. How you doing?
Doing great, buddy. How are you today?
I am fantastic and amazing. Ready to go.
Alrighty, very cool. Well, we are ready to go, and the system is in place, and got work to do, and I'm excited about that. So let's see if we can get people to chime in a little bit. So can you just Joe or Gunnar or somebody just to chime in and tell us you can hear us? Say good morning in the chat box. You can do that. It'd be great. Yes, we hear you. Good. Thank you. Well, good morning. We got about 1 minute to get to the top of the hour, and got a few things to cover. This will be good. Hopefully everyone has the proper invitation pages, so I'll go over that in a second. But we are at the top of the hour, so it's about 30 seconds. Okay, so good morning. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. This is Joe Shoup with Mark Stevens. Getting ready to go in our journey. Today is the 16th of February, believe it or not. Is that crazy, Mark, or what?
I'm telling you, it's amazing.
16th of February already.
This month has flown by.
Well, it's exciting because we have a number of things. I wanted to just, as we move along this morning, let me give you some talking points about today. So our first segment is always going to be about talking points, what we're going to talk about for the day. So first of all, you notice that we're going to introduce you today to a great author of a number of books, but a teacher who followed Napoleon Hill, and this is great stuff. So we're just going to introduce you to you today. Mark's going to cover a few things with you a little bit later, and tomorrow we're going to have a full-blown topic and cover the principles that he covers in his book. And that's just so exciting to see that this is, just available to us. And Mark will blend that with what we've been trying to teach here for the last year. And so we'll get to that in a few more minutes. But let me tell you something, Mark. I'm a big fan of historical facts and History Channel, things like that, and Discovery. And I was watching this show the other night, very, very interesting show called Hacking the System. And this guy's name is Brian Brushwood. And it's about what he teaches is basic principles and how to get ahead. Hacking doesn't mean like hacking into a computer. It's basically doing things differently to improve. That's really what the theme of it is. And he covered a number of areas, but the one thing that he did cover, he went into a company, a top shelf company, actually a Wall Street company, I believe, but it was a big company, and he actually worked with the owners. They knew he was doing this, but the interviewer did not. So to set the stage, what he did, Mark, was he went for a job interview. And he goes into the interview, and the point of it was to show you how to get the job, what an interview should look like. And so he went in very nicely dressed, so professional looking. And let's just say the job was for a management position, and that's really what it was. But he had no experience in that. He ran his own company, and he's actually a professional magician, this guy. But he ran his own company for the last 18 years. his own magic show on the road. So he had a lot of experience in that. But when he went in for the interview, there was a woman that interviewed him, and he was smiling. He showed the principles on how to get that interviewer to like you and have a positive experience. So to cut through it all, the things that he did made her happy. But when he got to the end of the interview, he was talking as it was going along, explaining what he was doing to the audience, So, but he got to the end, and she said, "Well, we're done on our end, but do you have any questions for me?" And he said, "As a matter of fact, I do." He said, "And I know it's going to sound a little strange." And Mark, what do you hear what this guy asked her? It was just amazing. See if this sounds familiar, everybody. Let me ask you this question. Is there any reason that you wouldn't hire me for the job? And she was stunned. She didn't know what to say. She had never heard that before. He was a real great interviewer. She was a real great interviewer. It was fantastic. But notice the language. Now that I'm here and I've answered this and we've been through this, is there any reason why you wouldn't hire me for the job? And he got a response from her because she said, as a matter of fact, she kind of threw her eyes and said, well, but yeah, she goes, well, let me tell you, I see, your answers, this is fantastic, you see it, but you don't have much experience in the management field, which gave him the opportunity to turn that completely around. Listen, he ad-libbed this whole thing, Mark. And the reason he was able to do it is because he knew his material. He knew exactly what to do here. He knew the pattern. He knew to ask her that question. And when she said experience, he said, I understand what you're talking about, and you're right. You're absolutely right. He agreed with her, had her on his side, and said, I don't have any office management experience like this, but I've run my own company for 18 years. I've been in charge of payroll for my help, my people, my staff. I've done all the advertising and da-da-da. I've organized all. I've kept all the records. And he explained what his management was that she never understood until he said that. The point of it is, notice how he asked the question, is there any reason why you wouldn't hire me? And the reason he asked that was to get a response from her to be able to deal with the objection. When we're talking to people, our prospects, that is exactly the language. And if you notice, that's what we ask in there. That's the things we've been teaching all along. It's not, would you be interested? Now that you've seen the information, would you want to join us? It's, is there any reason why you wouldn't? I know you've heard us say that a million times. So I really was so happy to hear that, to say, this isn't something we made up. These are principles to follow. So it's really, a good story to remember for you when you're asking questions. There is a big difference between, asking a simple question. We were taught at the end of our home presentations, doing a flip chart. I'm talking Primerica and A.O. Williams. When we sat in somebody's home, Mark, and did a flip chart, the last thing that we would ask, this is the question sitting right here. We would gather up, we would show them the difference between buy term and invest the difference. We'd show them, we'd ask them to bring their policy out so we could show them a few things in fine print and tell them we were going to analyze the policy for them. But here's what we were taught to say at the very end. Now, Mary, I'm going to take this policy, I'm going to do an analysis for you, and I'm going to come back. But let me ask you this question. If when I come back and I can show you a plan that's better for you in every way, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to do business with me? Notice the back end of the question. So this is really important for you to write this down today to understand how to make the close. Let's assume that you were talking to somebody you knew and you weren't trying to recruit them. They weren't a candidate for that, but you were telling them about gold. If you have any sense about you now, you will realize that the place to take somebody like that is on the Friends and Family inside page, where it lists the company, the product, how it works, and all the answers are in there for someone who wants to know more about gold and how our system works in gold. And the final question you should have for anybody when you explain that to them is, if I can show you, in other words, there's going to be questions. I had the banker talk to me the other day that I told you about, and he asked me about legitimacy and how do we know that's real gold and things like that. Not being objectionable, he was just asking that question because he had never seen anything like that. But if I can get these answers for you, if I can show you that our company's big and legitimate and that this is actually 24 karat, 999.9, 24 karat gold, LBMA, London Bullion Market Associate, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to get started with our company and protect your family's future? That's how that question should be asked, Mark. I was just really impressed with, with just the way this guy handled it. And by the way, he got the job. And it was very, very interesting. And he went on with other things in the show, showing you how to get a better waiter and how to ask the right questions and so on in a restaurant, how to get yourself seated where you want and get the good service you want. Anyway, if you get a chance to watch this show, people, it's called Hacking the System, and it's fantastic. It's a very, very educational show. So, that being said, let me talk to you about the system right now. If by chance you are using a marketing company, a lead company, I should say, other than USA Lead Company, when you go to your back office, you have two selections to make for your cold market presentation. The questions, the invite letters is really what it is. You have two choices. So my suggestion for you today is to go to this system and go to the training room. Go over to the training room and go into the team training room and scroll down to the AdTech/ToolsRock marketing system and go down to first of all, if you haven't put the presentation in there, you need to unlock your custom site, number one. Number two is you need to unlock your, your autoresponders. But when you do that, you have a couple of choices in there. Autoresponder 1, Autoresponder 2, and Autoresponder 3 instructions are there. Autoresponder 1 is for the friends and family. Now, remember this. When you unlock your system, you can unlock as many of the website presentations as you want. You can have all of them, anything that's back there. You just have to have their ID number and the password. Then you have them on your system, meaning if you want to send the friends and family to somebody, you can just send them an email and say, here, open this up. So if you want to do that, or you can have it through a marketing system and put them in your contact manager and start a series of invite letters. The next thing you want to do is have a cold market to send them to. So that's everybody you know. Then the other one is people you don't know. But from the category of people you don't know, or cold market, or BizPrez invite number 1 or 2, you've got to make a choice. Which one do you want? If you read the instructions or the descriptions next to autoresponder number 2 and autoresponder number 3, the business presentation, you will see one says for the cold market. The other one says for the USA leads or any lead or any surveyed lead. In other words, if someone has answered questions and you know when you bought that lead, that's what that prospect has done instead of just buying a list, then they should get autoresponder or business presentation invite number 2. Because the first 2 letters on that invite series say you have identified yourself as a person who would be interested in managing a business from home. Those first 2 letters. The other one doesn't say that. It just says we would like to speak with you about managing a business from home. But again, pay attention to the description and make the decision as to what series you want to use. You could use either one for whatever. But I suggest that you make sure that you understand what those letters do and say. If you're confused, then always select the one where the letter starts, we would like to speak with you about managing a business from home with my company. So even if you did that with the USA lead company, it still probably won't make that much of a difference. The second one for the USA is just telling them that they filled something out. So please pay attention to that. Now, if you have not downloaded, or I shouldn't say downloaded, but if you have not unlocked the business presentation, the newest one that we've done over the last several months that describes the baby boomers, if you haven't done that, go into the back office and look how to unlock your custom sites. Go into the training vault, use the password, the vault, just to get in there. Then the passwords and ID numbers are in there for each one of the websites you need to unlock, the custom site that you need to unlock. So pay attention to that and follow through. Take your time so you understand. Remember, you can unlock as many websites that are custom built in there. There are several. You can unlock them all. What you can't do is use more than, if you're in the $20 a month program with Tools Rock, you can only use 2 autoresponders. That simply means that, let's assume that you had the list of friends and family and you had, let's say, 50 people in there. So you go and you add them to your contact manager. And when you add them, anytime you add a lead to the manager, it's going to ask what category do they fit in. So that's the next step in your back office, is to create categories. This is a part that's very, very important. That should be to everyone. Because you have to break your leads up into categories. Are they friends and family, or are they people you don't know? You could have several categories, 10 if you like. Here's why. When you do a search for a particular group or a particular person, they will be in a certain category. So let's assume for a minute you had 500 people in your contact manager. Say 1,000 people in your contact manager. And let's say that 600 of them were from the USA Lead Club. Let's say that 200 were from, or let's say 300 of them were from XYZ Lead Company, and let's say 100 of them were from your friends. And when you go into your office and you want to see the contacts, you click on Contacts and Quick View, and that'll show you everybody that's in your contact manager. Everybody's there. But let's assume you want to see only the people that are in your friends and family. Then you do a search, a category search. You click on friends and family, because that's the category that you created, and that's where you put them when you added them to the contact manager. And you click that button on, and it'll remove the 1,000 that were there and only show you 100. Now you see the 100 that you sent it to, and you can see the activity on what letter has gone out, what series they're on, and so on. So it's important when you set up those categories that you label them according to the lead source that you got them from, whether it's your source, friends and family, or USA or XYZ or Weber, or wherever you got the lead from is what category you should create. So if you have any questions about that, put it up on the board here and we'll take a look at it. So that's one thing. Okay, as far as the autoresponders are concerned, if you have any questions, just get to us and we'll try to answer that. So let me just preface this. I'll turn this over to you, Mark, for a few minutes. You noticed that the invite today is talking about a specific author. Now, it's really important that you understand and see the relationship between what we're telling you to do or asking you to do or teaching, whatever category you want to put that into. The point is, you will see the principles that go way back, to Napoleon Hill, all the way up through Clement Stone. You'll be able to see that the things that we teach is something we didn't make up. Commit to a lifelong of learning. The very, 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 very first law of wealth is knowledge, and you're going to see that tomorrow. That's the first law that he talks about. Prosperity and wealth begin in the mind, but ends in the purse. That's what he says. People who are successful have relied mostly on themselves. And the people that are successful are those who believe they could change the world. And they have. They believe they could, and they have. So these are some of the principles that we'll talk about tomorrow that you need to, incorporate here and start studying, start understanding. Mark tells you every single day, watch the presentation to learn. Remember, the first law of wealth is knowledge. And that's what we've been trying to tell you. It's going to take time for a lot of people to get the wealth, but the important part is you're on the journey. Commit to a lifelong of learning. Make the short-term sacrifices for the long-term gain. Turn off that TV and get back to the office. Stop doing this when you could be doing that. Take calculated risks when opportunity presents itself. You know what that means to me, Mark? It means that most people, what it means here for me is that I know most people are afraid of that telephone. The entire reason for the class is to teach you not to be afraid of that telephone. Why? Because you'll have enough knowledge to be comfortable, to understand who you are, not worry about who you are. You're just a receptionist. You're only calling back to verify some information to move them over to a real manager. And that's what these guys who have acquired the wealth and share the knowledge, that's what they all say. It's no different than Robert Kiyosaki saying, it's not cash or money that makes you rich. It's the application of the business principles that make you rich, and that's what we're going to cover tomorrow. So I wanted to be very clear on what's coming tomorrow, along with Cecil Piper. Cecil Piper is an accomplished business person. You need to pay attention to this. I'm telling you, this guy has more credentials than the people on this line combined. He is a very, very smart businessman. He's a personal friend and best friends and brother to Mark Stevens. And this is a very, very special guy. So if you have not heard Cecil Piper here, need to get in here and listen tomorrow. And we'll have him on a couple times this week if his schedule allows it. But you know what? Pay attention to this information that tomorrow we'll cover these principles. But Mark, I know you want to share a little bit about that. So, and thanks for getting that over to me. Mark is the one who introduced me to Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And I had never heard of him. I had never seen it. And I watched the information yesterday, ordered a book, and I'm very excited about, where this guy is going and teaching people, and I'm really happy to hear that we're on the same page, Mark, with this, because this is one smart guy. He's a great speaker and motivator, and it's time to go to work, people. It's time. We have everything in place. Of course, we'll be adjusting some things as we go. We know that. But here's the thing. Most people are teaching you, as we talked about, most people are teaching you. Just get on the phone and do this and put them on, and don't be afraid to bring them to a three-way. Well, what knowledge do you have, Mr. or Mrs. or Mr. or Miss? What knowledge do you have that you could help me with a three-way? That would be my question. How are you going to handle that when I bring somebody to you? And if they say, well, don't worry about it, just follow me, I wouldn't do it. You have learned and gotten the knowledge to do a three-way properly. Your responsibility now is to pass that information on and become a person who can do that. We have groups in their own group working together to perfect this stuff for themselves and their group. Work with people to do that. Work with people. Help them. Help them. So, over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Joe. Couple things. We like 4 minutes to the bottom of the hour. Let me say this first, that you talked a little bit also about opportunity. Well, when opportunity knocks on a lot of people's front door, a lot of them are out in their backyard looking for four-leaf clovers, and it's not a good thing, because that's why I'm not a believer in luck. Because my definitions of luck, I have two. Number one is luck is what a lot of people call it when the Creator gives them a break. And number two is the definition of luck, because you always hear me talk about words have pictures and meanings. Luck, laboring under correct knowledge. And Joe, you talked about knowledge. If you have knowledge, you don't need luck. You just put the knowledge to use. So I just wanted to say that. And the other thing, tomorrow, we're going to cover some very, well, I don't want to use the term deep, but it's principles that Dr. Kimbrough, Dennis Kimbrough, he has a PhD degree from Northwestern University. And what he did, he set out to talk to first 50 millionaires. And, he wanted to know how they did it, what they did it, and basically what their principles were and everything. And he started out to do 50, and he got to 100, and then he got to 150, and that was it. It's just, that was it. He wanted to talk to everybody. And what happened was that when he did this, a major Success magazine, which all of you, I'm quite sure a lot of you are familiar with, asked him to write an article based on that. And he wrote this article, and then, because we all have heard of Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. And so he wrote this article, and because it was kind of based on Napoleon Hill's principles and everything. So he wrote this article, in Success magazine had him write this article, and then W. Clement Stone, big insurance guy in Chicago, saw it. And he was very impressed with it, so he wanted to talk to this young man. So he called him and invited him to come to Chicago. But he had something for him, and we'll go over that kind of tomorrow. I'll set it up for you tomorrow. But there's 7 principles that he basically ended up with that he wanted to share with people. And see, that's what I always talk about, sharing. When you get something, you don't get it to keep it to yourself. You get it to share with other people. And so these are principles of wealth. And he wrote a book, and this book is called Wealth Choice. And basically what it is the success secrets of millionaires. And, you know, I'll say this, they happen to be African-American millionaires, but as I was telling Joe, it doesn't make any difference to me what color it is because the principles apply to all, black, green, pink, red, yellow. It doesn't matter. Brown doesn't matter. So, and the thing that I loved about it was the principles go right along with what Joe and I have been teaching. And again, like I said, everything I talk about today, I tie it to the presentation because the presentation is so significant and timely, and it's going to change a lot of things. So those are the things we want to share with you tomorrow. And as for Cecil Piper, as Joe said, this man got more degrees than a deodorant called degrees and had all this stuff in it. Well, Cecil Piper has all of that, and right now, as a matter of fact, I'm very proud of my brother because I am now proofreading a book that he wrote, and it's going to change a lot of people's outlook and wake a lot of people up. It has to do with internal, you know, the IRS. I call them the Internal Ripoff Agency, but, you know, y'all know it as the Internal Revenue Agency because I'll share this with you, then I'll let him tell his story. They tried to get Cecil Piper for $150,000 in back taxes, and Cecil Piper beat them. And Cecil Piper taught them and showed them that they don't even know their own laws. And now he has wrote a book for us to show us and to tell us what's really going on and what you need to know and what you even need to do. Because there's very few people that beat the Internal Ripoff Agency. Yeah, I said it. The Internal Ripoff Agency. And he beat him. He'll show you some things. He'll tell you some things. And like I said, I'm proofreading his book now, and you know, because he wants to get ready to get it published. And to me, it's going to go viral. It's going to go viral. And I'm so proud of him. And he asked me if I would, you know, proofread it before he takes it to a publisher. So that's what I'm doing now. And this man has got to be one of the smartest. I know he's one of the smartest people I ever met, and everything. And great speaker, has a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. We've shared a lot of knowledge, and we've taught each other a lot of things. I don't have, Cecil Piper may have 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees. I just have a high school education, but I'm self-taught of a lot of things that I've learned that I can, you know, I'm not bragging, but I can stand up with a lot of people and deal with them and go along with some things, and we can talk about a lot of things intelligently. And that's because of what Joe says, because of the knowledge that I have. And I'm quite sure, you know, Joe has that education, but he can do that as well. You know, even without that education, because of the other education that he's gotten in the business world. So be here tomorrow, bring your people, send your people, because we're going to drop a lot of knowledge on you tomorrow. So with that being said, Joe, you got any other words you want to put in before we close out?
No, Mark, I just think that we have spent a lot of time getting and developing the system whereby recruiting never stops. And we don't have all the answers for the best presentation, for the best set of invite or follow-up letters. I know that we could use, and we always will look at evaluating. Think of our process as a game, as a football game. And as you move along in a game, you start looking at the defense, what's happening to your offense based on their defense. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? We don't, when I say we don't have all the answers, I mean this is all trial and error stuff in every situation. Now, we're pretty confident that this presentation will filter and get the right people. We are not looking to just throw this against the wall and see what sticks. We're not looking to massively put this out there and bring 50 people into the company with 2 of them doing something and buying a package and moving forward and getting in the system. We're not interested in that. That is the old-fashioned way to do network marketing. Bring everybody you can. Yes, it's still the law of large numbers in the shortest period of time. Yes, it's like that. But wouldn't it be better if you found that 1 to 2 people every month, and those 2 people are following a system, understanding they need 1 or 2 new people every month for a good 6 months or so. That's what they need to do. If they had the tools and the knowledge to do that, wouldn't it be better to get to the end, having them look at a presentation and say, wow, I like this company, I will fill this out now and see where this interview takes me, as opposed to opening up, fill this out, then we'll tell you we have changed that entire concept. We'll give you the courtesy of letting you look at us first. And if there's an interest, then let's see if we have an interest in you. That is what should be in the back of your head. Now, if you believe in that, because that's the first step to this, it's first created in your mind. Prosperity and wealth begins in the mind and ends in the purse. That's what Dr. Dennis Kimbrough says. Begins in the mind and ends in the purse. If you believe that what you're doing is right, then do it and follow this pattern. Send them the presentation and let them look at it. Follow up with that interview, getting them ready for their interview with someone. But do the right thing here. Get yourself educated on how to do this. If what you have been doing has not worked, don't go back to the old ways. Don't go back to that and start thinking that you're calling people and talking to them about making money and carrot bars and all the gold that they can get and the principles and the history of gold. Look, everybody knows all those facts. All you're trying to do when you do that is convince them that they should work with you. And we all know what happens to those people. They end up doing zero in your business. Teach them how to do this right, how to successfully manage this, how to find the right people. So you'll end up, if you get somebody to go through the presentation and they fill it out, you have an extremely interested person in listening and going and taking the next step to an interview. Otherwise, here's what happens. Think about the other way around. Somebody comes in, looks at a website, sees some information, fills out the form in order to see it all, because you've enticed them with get rich. And they filled something out in order to see what's inside. And when they got there, they went, I don't want this. You've gotten a notice that someone's interested, and guess what you're going to do for a week or two? Chase them down, because you know that they saw this, they filled it out, but yet you don't know if they liked it or not. The only way you're going to know is after they saw it, then they filled it out. I know we'll get less hits that way, but we're going to get good, solid, interested people, and that's what we're looking for. Our system is set up that way now. I don't see us changing that. No matter what happens here, I don't see us changing it. You've got to follow a pattern. Create a system whereby recruiting never stops. Mark, we never, ever, ever, when we built an empire at Primerica, we never, ever told them everything about the company and what they did when we scheduled those interviews. Those interviews were group interviews. They came to the office 5 days a week, and they listened to 35, 45 minutes of information. Then after they saw what it was, they said, let me schedule an interview. And 95% of those people scheduled that interview for the next day or that week to come back and discuss the possibilities with not leaving the office till they gave us referrals. This is the same principle. So follow it. Dig in today. Here's what you need to do today. Go to the training room and make sure that your system is set up. Make sure it's set up. Make sure that you've unlocked the funnels. Make sure that you've opened the 2 autoresponders. You can only have 2. Open up a friends and family one, and open up one of the other choices for the Business Pres Invite 1 or Business Pres Invite 2. Make the choice on which letter you want to go out to them, the first 2 letters. The rest of the letters are exactly the same. Make the choice. Use your common sense to know what autoresponder you want to use for the categories. Then go create the categories. Follow the instructions on creating those categories. Category creation should look something like this. Friends and family. That's one category. Second one should be USA leads. If you have other sources where you got leads from, that's what a category is. Where you got the leads from. XYZ lead company. Leads I had in my office. Business cards I've collected. These are all categories. So if you've collected 10 business cards through the course of the month talking to people outside, you should have a category that says business cards. So when you come back home and you go to your autoresponder and say, I'm going to add this person as a contact, it's going to ask you what category. And guess what you're going to select after you've created the category? You're going to go in and say business cards. Click it on. Then when you go to your view to look at everybody that's in there, you can do a search and say, hey, let me look at the people I sent business cards to. Go over, click on business cards, click on view, and guess what? You'll have 10 people sitting there saying, here's all the business cards. I think most people, Mark, aren't understanding the categories, and that's one of the things that needs to be straight. I spent the weekend with a couple of people. I know Hortensia, I think maybe she's on the call today, and I made I'm really tough when we sit down one-on-one at home. I'm not trying to be, happy and friendly and, let me just tell you everything. I make that person go in and understand the system. I ask them questions. Or what should I do next? I go, I don't know, you tell me. Well, should I do a category? I don't know, you tell me. Let's go back to the training room and understand it. So I thought it was so funny. She was so adorable. And I said, look, I'm sorry if I'm tough. She goes, no, let me explain to you. I learned a lot today. You are a good teacher. You are tough. But I wouldn't have learned it had you not done it like this. So, keep that in mind. Don't just give people the information when they say, well, how do I unlock that? Don't go tell them how to do it. Tell them to go to the training room and learn it. That's what I did with her. I made her keep going back to the training room and see it for herself. I'm going to end it with this, Mark. Tell me and I'll hear. I could have easily told her what to do and just guided her through it. She would have got done and not understand it. Show me and I'll see. I could have took her to the screen share and showed her and set it all up for her. But instead, I got her involved. I made her do it herself, so that she totally understood, because when we started, she did not know what a category was. She didn't know the difference between the autoresponders and the categories. But now she does. I promise you, she could teach that now. So I was happy to see that she understood it now. But always do it that way, and don't just give it, right? Because I know tomorrow that Dr. Kimbrough, one of the principles is teaching people to fish. Don't just give them a fish. Teach them how to fish, and they'll be able to have something forever. And that's what we do. So my message, get involved. Go open up your autoresponders today, get it all set up, get your leads in there, and start going forward here, learning the language. Mark, can you see if Daryl Cummings is on there today? Do you have that?
Yeah, I see a Daryl on there. It's just Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl, that's Daryl. Daryl, give me a call the minute we're done, okay? The very second we're done. That's the first phone call I'm taking. We need to talk, and we're having a class today. If you're interested in getting in this class today, I am going to be gone for most of the day today. So I need to get this set up for you so we can get this handled. So anyway, have a fun day, everybody, and thanks for being here at the Breakfast Club. We will see you tomorrow, and for Mark Stevens, this is Joe Shoup, and we will have a fun day today, a good day today. Get yourself ready, get into action, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at the Breakfast Club. Don't forget Cecil tomorrow. It's a very important day. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here.